Hello, welcome to Winefairy. I'm Katie, and today we're going to be talking about the colour of wines. So pour yourself a glass and let's taste along together. What you should do is pour just enough so that you have a good tasting measure. Let the light come through, and we need to be able to turn the glass on its side to really see the different layerings and to get the clarity of that colour all the way. Ideally, what you also need is a white background. I have a trusty piece of paper here because the reflections will make a big difference in how you see that wine. There you can see its true colour more so with that background. What we're looking to find is the clarity of the wine, so beautiful, clear. We're looking for the intensity of the wine, so that depth of colour, how the levels of colour as it goes through from top to bottom. And we're looking to see that there's no sediment or anything, foreign object in the glass itself. So with this wine that I have here, as you can see, it's certainly passes those tests. Clarity is spot on, it's really shining, beautiful. If you look at the colour, you can see it's quite a pale yellow, just a slight hue of green coming through on that. And there's certainly no sediment at all in that glass. Now, when we talk of white wines, typically you're going to look at the spectrum of colour profiling coming from a very pale yellow, almost with a green hue to the wine. And that will be on your lighter styles. Going through into something with a slightly more darker lemony hay straw colour, into your liquid gold, and then into a darker sort of amber characteristic. Now that's going to change with the style of the wine and with the aging of the wine potentially. What's happened in the cellar, has there been oak added or not? And then also the time in the bottle or exposure to oxygen as the wine matures. So that oxygenation process will also change that colour as the wine ages. Very similar to leaving a piece of apple out in exposure to the air. That apple will start to brown. The same thing will start to happen with your wine over time. Now the rosés, as you know all too well, is starting very similarly on that very pale kind of characteristic and going into more skin contact, which gives you that colour. So with a red wine, the colour in a rosé, the colour of the wine is actually coming from the skins itself. If you were to peel a red grape, you would see that the flesh inside is still green. So it really is that exposure to the skins or anthocyanins that makes that difference. And the longer the time on the skins, the more depth of colour you're going to get. Also the grape variety itself will play a role there. So if we look, starting with the rosés, as I say, at a much lighter, very pale pink character, going all the way through into more of a salmon, an onion skin, and even the blush, you know, that lovely sort of pink, real blush characteristic. So that's, as I say, is going to be dictated more by the intensity, time on the skins, and the grape variety itself. Now if we then look at the red wines are obviously a lot more, there's a lot more hue to cover when it comes to the reds. The different varieties each have different characteristics in the grape itself, and therefore, and the thickness of the skin differs, so, and the size of the berry as well. So all of those factors are going to play a role in the final colour. Now if we look at this one, you can see it's really quite dark. So when we're looking at the spectrum of colours on the red wines, you're generally starting at more of a purple undertone, going into a ruby, then more towards a garnet, which gives you that slightly more orange undertone to it. And then really as it ages, that browning again occurs, as did with the white wine. So that's going to give off that more oxidated character and therefore that brown terracotta kind of colour. Now if we look at this wine, you will see it's already a little bit more orange. It's definitely not on the purple line of things. And if I give it a swirl, there you really get that intensity of color in the center, that real sort of depth of color in the center, and you can see the more terracotta orange line at the top as I swirl that. Now I'm only swirling this so that you can see it on camera. Typically you would have the wine at rest and to the side and look at it from above, but that's not really going to show too well on the camera. I'll take pictures and put that up in the article for you to see.